All right, hello, this is Jokken. This will be our draft review video for Season 13 of the SCL, and for doing this, I'm going to be joined once again by fellow coach Makayta.
Hello.
So we finished the draft yesterday. I thought this looked like it's probably our strongest overall draft as a league ever. This looked very solid all around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was impressed with a lot of the coaches putting together teams that, like, there weren't any that I was like, oh, that could use some work. So,
Definitely not. I feel like every team is fairly competent this time.
yeah, no, so
But most of the times that it hasn't been have just been for fun, I think.
yes, I would agree, but it feels like a step up this season.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of that, let's get into the teams. We're going to go down the list in draft order here, starting with our first team Hunter, ending with our last pick in djdouglas. We'll give our thoughts on the teams briefly, and then if there's any suggestions we feel that need to be made, we'll give some suggestions. So starting us off with Hunter's team, who had the first pick, why don't you give us your thoughts first on this one?
Well, I think it's pretty solid overall. Like, there's no glaring weaknesses. The only one I could really think of is rock, which is not a very prominent type in this specific league. I think the only thing that I saw that even was rock type is garganical, and for the most part, like Salamence is as the Terra Captain is going to eliminate one of those as the weakness. So I feel like, for the most part, there's not really a glaring weakness outside of ground, and the defense on the ice types is going to really make that like a non-issue.
Yeah.
I guess the only issue is how well are you going to enable the Spectre to sweep, because obviously that's the most powerful thing on this team. And I guess there's not really anything outside of Ting Lu that's going to come in. I guess Ninetales too, because of the new defense buff on a dark attack. So that's my only critique there. I think a defensive fairy that might have been very helpful to pair with Spectre, or a normal type.
Yeah, I kind of see that he's probably going to try and get around some of that through the snow buffs and probably Aurora Veil, and Moltres can sort of act as a bulky check if he needs it to.
I suppose.
But I think the big key here is going to be, like, it's going to be really hard for a lot of teams to deal with planning around both Spectre and Salamence. Because for context, his Terra Captains on this team, Salamence, Iron Crown. Terra Salamence with Moxie, Spectre with Grim Nay, both of those get out of hand really quick if you're not ready.
Yeah, it looks solid.
So
I'm happy to see the Glamora pick up too.
yeah, that's one that I've been trying to fit onto teams for a couple seasons now and haven't. I think the only thing that's a little bit of a downside, I remembered looking at my notes here, Glamora is the only removal. That's not like a negative, but there's going to be games where it's tough to get that Glamora in a spot it can Mortal Spin probably.
You know, it would be so much better if Corrosion worked with Mortal Spin, but it just doesn't.
That would be cool. That'd actually give you a reason to run it more often than not, because I think he's probably just going to end up with Toxic Debris 90% of the time or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, though. I didn't think about removal, but like we said before the draft started, there's really nothing that has good removal in this generation that, you know, is exciting.
Yeah, it's a very shallow pool, that's for sure. But yeah, that's our first team. If we look down here, no huge issues. Momentum's a little shaky. You've got what? Moltres. I don't remember if it counts Memento or not, but you've got Volt Switch, Flip Turn. It's like, yeah, okay. Crown might not want to run Volt Switch every time. Palmont and Crawdaunt might not even come to every match. So he's going to have to be pretty good on his switching, making sure he's reading it correctly, but I think the team should still work just fine. So why don't we hop over to Team 2 here. This is going to be Rivero, returning for their second season. They went with a pretty big first 1-2 of Latias or Shifu that I think is going to work very well for them, and a lot of good supporting pieces. Sandy Shocks is kind of the premier special attacker because Latios doesn't actually have that high of a special attack stat. And then good supporting core. You got Toxapex, who's a classic. It's going to eat whatever you throw at it pretty much. Fortress for your own hazards and spin. Wheezing to be a backup wall. Cinderace with court change. I like a lot of this team.
Don't forget our Believer.
That's true. That was one I had my eye on for a while until it got taken.
It sets up that grassy terrain for the Sandy Shocks and the Toxapex to remove that ground weakness, and Cinderace, I guess.
Yeah. Something we should talk about on this team that I'm remembering, they have not declared Terra Captains yet. So if you're in this position, which two are you picking as your Terra Captains?
They're sitting on the left. Latios Arboliva, for sure. I mean, full disclosure, I did, make this team for him.
Mm-hmm.
I told him that those are what his captains should be. I mean, he's welcome to do whatever he wants, though. It's his team. I think he discounted Latios a little bit, because I think as a Terra captain, it's going to be able to set up a lot easier with Terra Fairy or Terra Water or something, and then that special attack stat is going to skyrocket, and it's going to be a big, big threat.
Yes, it can be a threat, but I think it needs that turn where Sandy Shocks can come in and just click stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's why he liked it. Same with Urshifu. I mean, obviously Urshifu is Terra banned this season, so it's not going to be as powerful as it was last season.
It's still pretty
but
powerful,
I do think it's powerful, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll take a little bit of a counter position here, because I was looking at this team on what it could be. I really like Sandy Shock's Jugulis as a pairing there, if you want to go a little bit more offensive and not as, high tier, low tier on your Terra captains. Because Shocks with Terra, especially Ice, there's not a lot that can come in on that if you put that as a Terra captain. And then if you Terra Jugulis, you get out of that awful Hurricane minigame. You can get into some just Terra flying stuff.
That's fair. I think this team is so overwhelmingly offensive, but at the same time,
it's still bulky.
Has really, really bulky defensive mons.
Yeah.
And so it's just depending on which offensive mons is he going to bring, and pair them with which defensive mons to have complete, overwhelming presence on the battlefield. And I think he's got a great team for that.
Yeah. It's definitely a solid one. This is my week 1 opponent, so I've already come up with a couple things here. And I will say, if he doesn't end up with that Terra Captain Sandy Shocks, I've got some ideas going on already. There could be some good answers there. But coming down here, no glaring weaknesses overall on the entire team. That's, I believe, just flying, which that's not really a type we worry about, because not a lot of flying types out there that are going to be wanting to run flying moves. Thank you for that, Game Freak, by the way. Why do you hate them? And then
his HP average is pretty low.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a little deceiving, because you've got Pex and Fortress, which sure, their HP's low, but they're still going to stick around forever, right?
Yeah, well, fair.
If I was looking at this, the only thing that is a little bit sad is the one knockoff user, and I'm thinking that's Urshifu, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Jugulis? I could be forgetting something. I don't think Pex gets it anymore. But that's gonna make disrupting the opponent's game plan a little tougher. So if the coach was to look for any trades, that might be something to keep in mind. Could help somewhere. Maybe if you switched to the Lucari where there's Magius for something else, look for a knockoff user. But I think it's solid overall. It's not a huge oh god, you're gonna lose a match because of it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any closing thoughts on this one?
Not really. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I think, by the way, the only knockoff user is Jugulis. I just looked it up. Which is not necessarily something that wants to run knockoff, but at least it's there, and it's pretty fast. I think it looks strong. I was really happy with it after I created it. It's not flawless, but I think that the defensive stuff is so good that the offensive stuff's going to be able to shine whatever combo he decides to bring, you know? I think he'll have fun with it.
Okay.
Which is really what I was going for.
Yeah. No, I agree. It looks quite powerful, and it'll probably be a problem for my prep in week 1 if I had to guess. I've already been sweating a little bit, but it should be fine. I think it's a good team. Let's jump over to team number 3. This would be Delicatesteveo. Coming off one of their best seasons last season, if I'm not mistaken. Made playoffs and went on a somewhat deep run, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coming back
he
with
beat me. for the first time last season. So
Was that regular season or playoffs?
regular.
Okay. I was gonna say I didn't think he knocked you out, but.
No, I played you in the finals.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, how about you start us off with this one again? I had a little bit of a hand in building this one, so you can start us.
Well, I think your hand was a little shaky because this team looks really messy. I'm just kidding. It looks okay. It's not. I think.
In the coach's defense, he had a theme in mind he wanted to build around, and that was slower Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mess. Like, I think Cyclizar being the only fast thing is a problem because it's not really that great offensively. I think Zapdos is a little redundant as well with the Raging Bolt. But I also think the Lapras, I mean, not that I think Lapras is bad, I think it's quite good, but to have it as your Terra Captain when you have so many other higher tier options available.
That's the only other thing he could Terra here, actually. If he keeps Raging Bolt as the captain.
But you could easily downgrade the Umbreon or the Quagsire to a 7-point Mon and then,
True.
Get a better 3 or something, or something like that, So, like, he could. And I mean, I think Lapras is decent. It has Water Absorb, which is nice. It makes a good Terra Captain because you could become a type that Water is weak to, and then you just absorb it.
Yeah.
You also get Ice Shard priority, setup. There's a bunch of stuff it can do. I just think that there's a lot of better options for it. And I think that having Scizor as a Terra Captain is a much, I mean, obviously you can't do that with Raging Bolt, but with the team you have now, if you were just to shift your Terra Captains around, I think Scizor, even Skeledirge could be a good combo.
I was thinking Scizor really Conk. Yeah, I enjoyed Conk a lot as a Terra Captain in the back half of last season. And then you have a very threatening priority duo in the two of them with Mach Punch, Bullet Punch.
That's what I was going to say next, is the priority's really good. I was going to take Conkeldurr as well, but I think he got it right before I was able to. And that's fine. I have a fighting type already, and I have priority, but it was just like, I think it's such a strong 8-point Mon. So the team here doesn't look bad. He has double Unaware, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think Raging Bolt is going to be really, really strong. I just don't think his team necessarily takes advantage of it that well, Like, he has the Galar Slowking for weather, but I think, like, water or rain would have been a better option just because you get that boost to the electric type attacks.
I could see that.
But I also think that he knows his playstyle. He knows how to have fun, I think he'll be enjoying it for the most part. And with the priority to counteract his slowness.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into. I think this is a team he drafted because it was a lot of things that sounded interesting. And off that, it's not a terrible team building around that kind of style. I think it looks pretty solid, and the priority, like you said, is going to be a problem for a lot of teams because you have 3 big priority sweepers. That's if I'm not counting a Lapras. I don't think that's a priority sweeper. But I'm talking Bolt, Scizor, Conk as your priority sweepers.
Well, we could say he has 4 very diverse methods of using priority. So
Yes. And I think
at the very least,
with the Hatterene, if he's able to get Trick Room off, this could be a competent Trick Room team. It's going to be tough to play because Trick Room's not traditional in singles whatsoever, but I'd be interested to see him try it.
And if he wants to go slow, I think a good thing he could have taken is something like Farigiraf that prevents priority and can set up Trick Room and is slow, There's lots of psychic type. Like, he has 2 already. But not to get too carried away or anything. But, like, you could have better options, Yeah,
I think no grass type here is kind of the problem. He's got that ground weakness. But it's not really a ground weakness because that Bolt can Terra out into something else, and grass is a pretty common Terra type on it. But it's still something that definitely catches my eye looking at the builder here.
Yeah, something with the grassy terrain would have been really nice.
Like Arboliva.
Yeah, that's taken. Sorry.
Or
Rillaboom's also taken.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta go all the way to it's not, is it Grookey? What's the middle one?
Wacky.
There you go. That would be the choice, but maybe that's what you switch to instead of Lapras, I don't know.
And if he had grassy terrain, he would have had a 5th priority in Grassy Glide.
That's true. But yeah, I think it's
Don't do that.
I think it's a pretty decent team considering the theme he wanted to build around. It's still going to give a lot of people problems, I think.
Yeah, my only concern is that 2-point Terra Captain is not going to carry its weight. I think you might want to consider upgrading it a couple weeks in if it doesn't turn out to work the way you expect it to.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I'm excited to see how he uses that Umbreon, because that's one of my favorite Pokemon. I think it's been a couple seasons since we've seen it drafted, too.
Yeah, it fell off.
I don't know.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I just think that it's not as good as it used to be.
I think it's because there's a lot of good fighting types running around this generation.
Yeah.
I think he could use it, though. It's a good ghost resist for those 2 psychic types he's got.
Totally.
Alright, so I'm going to ask you to go
nice.
first again here, because this team is my team.
Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really like your team.
Yeah?
I think you have 2 really strong Terra Captains, though, or 2 really strong first picks. And I think that they're going to be a big threat, and I know you as a player, obviously you're going to utilize Iron Valiant and Zarude really well. And I think Iron Treads is one of the best removal options that there is, because there's not much to choose from.
Yeah.
But the rest of your team, I don't know. I don't really see the value in a lot of it. I think it's, like, Clefable's obviously really strong, and Araquanid can be too. But I don't see how they complement the rest of your team. I feel like I'm going to have to see you use it to really get a good grip on how you're going to utilize the synergy on this team.
It's definitely not my normal, and it's kind of cobbled together out of a bunch of things that sounded interesting, but
Yeah.
I think it still has ways to work. I'm excited to use stuff like Healing Wish on that Mesprit, or being able to use Muck as a special wall. It's been something I've had my eye on for a while. I think the biggest issue that I've noticed already looking at the team builder is pivot moves. I mean, if you look down here, it says I've got 6 pivot Pokemon, but it's counting these 2. Neither of them really want to run their pivot moves a lot of the time, though.
No.
So I would agree. I don't think it's
Especially not
perfect.
Treads.
It's not perfect, but I think I still have a lot of ways to win games, and it's kind of forcing myself to learn a style I've been meaning to learn in, like, okay, I don't have a bulky-ish team, because I tend to like a team with 1 or 2 dedicated walls, and I would say this team doesn't have that. But I wanted to learn more of the style of, like, I'm going to find a turn, I'm going to set up, and just win the game. And I think that's what this team is designed to do.
Well, I'm excited to see you use it. I don't think it's a bad team, and I think your strong things are very strong, so I know you could utilize it well. Let me see your averages. Yeah, your averages are pretty good. Lots of really fast speed. Like, I'm interested to see how you use Kilowattrel.
It's something I considered being a Terra Captain.
Yeah, and I think it's a good Terra Captain, but I think it's also good as is.
Yeah, I don't have it up on screen, but for context, my captains are Zarude and Mesprit. I also thought about making Armor Rouge one potential. That might be something I swap to, because that could be another good win condition was Terra Armor Rouge.
Yeah, I could see that.
There's a lot of people out there I don't think would be ready for something like Keyberry double setup stored power Armor Rouge. I think I could catch some people off guard with something like that.
Yeah, the other pick that I'm not too sure about is the Basculegion, but maybe I'm just a Basculegion hater.
I think it's pretty good value. I was looking at it after the draft started, and I was like, you know, maybe we should have moved that up. Like, Last Respect's allowed, and it's only 12 points. I think that's good value.
Sure, but it's 12 points and Last Respect's allowed, but you didn't draft Rain to support it. I mean, you could set it, but, you know, that's where it would really shine.
I don't think it needs it. I think you take Adaptability Aqua Jet and a Choice Band, and you're still going to be able to win some games with that thing.
I guess we'll have to see, huh?
Yeah. My first time drafting Clefable, you mentioned that one.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one to use.
And I typically don't like too much redundancy, but Fairy's one of the exceptions, and also it's not necessarily an offensive Fairy like Iron Valiant, so I think it's going to work out.
Yeah, they're definitely different roles, and Valiant's not the kind of Pokemon that wants to come in and take hits for other things. So I definitely wanted another fairy. I had been looking at Primarina, but that got taken before I had a chance to get it. And then a lot of the other fairies that were around, I was like, thought about Tinkaton, but I didn't want to double on Steel, so Clefable's the way I went.
No, Dragon is interesting.
That's my second season in a row. I didn't draft one last season either.
You like dragons too.
I do, but there's not a lot that I'm excited about in this generation. I thought about Komo, but once I drafted Valiant, I didn't want to double up on that. I thought about Keldeo. Once again, that's not a dragon. I was thinking fighting. Yeah. Komo was really the only dragon I was looking at.
Yeah, I think fighting is a good type to double up on in draft 2. It's just so good offensively.
Yeah. And I did. It's just crafty. Not as exciting, though.
Yeah. Not as exciting at all.
Yeah, he's going to be a decent defensive utility kind of thing, I think, for me. Any closing thoughts before the next team?
No, I think I just want to see how you utilize the team. I'm a Mesprit hater. I'm a Basque Legion hater. I'm the rest of your team hater, pretty much. So we'll have to see.
I got to try and win you over.
Yeah, and I know you can. I mean, you're a good player, so...
We'll see. The Zarud Mesprit combo is inspired by a YouTuber I like. They're both two of his favorites. So we'll see how they work out for me, but they fit his playstyle very well.
If you get completely demolished this season, I expect you to unsubscribe.
Okay. Will do.
Alright.
So this one's
now
next.
It's mine.
This one's yours, yes. So I think this one has a number of things that are scary. I'm excited about that Moltres. Moltres G is something I think has been just sitting there staring at us going, please somebody pick me, because it can rip through some teams if you get it going, and nobody's bothered to try it. So I'm interested to see how that ends up working for you. Tinkaton, that's another fairy that I had my eye on just because its utility is so good that it can be something offensive. You can run some cool pickpocket sets or knockoff, depending on how you want to deal with taking your enemy's items. You get rocks and T-Wave. But the only thing it's missing that would make it like the perfect pivot is a pivot move. But I think you have that covered in other ways.
Yeah.
I think the only thing, if we're talking about being a hater, I'm a Mousehold hater. I do not like that Pokemon.
It was not my first choice.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Chinchino.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a budget sort of Chinchino, but I think it can still do some stuff. It's definitely not the same level as Chinchino, though, I think.
Yeah, I get you. And I think the only reason I ended up taking it, because towards the end of the draft, I was looking at a couple things in the 6th tier, and Rabombi was one of them. And the thing that I mean, like, looking at my team, you can see it's very fast. Yeah.
Yes.
But I still thought I needed speed, as like just in case, especially speed and removal, and that was the only thing that was offered that could really offer me both. That's why I wanted Chinchino. It's just a little bit faster, just a little bit better, I think, but I still think it's pretty strong. And I wanted Mimikyu too. It's like it's a great fail-safe Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen anybody. I think it was drafted maybe once. I haven't really seen anybody use it, and I like it a lot. So.
I can tell you as a setup heavy team, as that's my way to win games. I don't like seeing that thing. It's gonna ruin my plans. I can already tell.
Yeah.
On the Terra Captain angle, you're on Iron Moth Electrode H right now, and we talked about this a little bit beforehand. But what are your thoughts on maybe making Sinistra a captain?
I think it's a great defensive option that I can do, because I think Electrode H is a great fast mon that just lacks enough offense to really utilize it without Terra Captain.
Yeah. So
by giving it Terra Captain, I hope to mitigate some of that because it's so fast that I want it to be able to help me win certain matchups. But Sinistra, I think overall, is a great mon, great defensive mon, having a better defensive typing, because I have redundant types like Mimikyu and Electrode, right, as the other two types that match Sinistra, that I could have a defensive type different than that, to help me fill in any other gaps. So it's tempting, and it was originally my plan. I think the only thing on this team that I had planned to draft from the beginning has been Sinistra. I wanted to take it the last 2 seasons, it just didn't work out. So
it's been popular.
Yeah, it's popular because it's good. It's just a good mon, and it's definitely my play style. So, um,
Oh, it's got your
I don't
signature
know.
move.
Yeah,
Strength Sap.
yeah. I love Strength Sap. I do. Jellicent's my boy.
Oh man,
I
I
just,
just thinking about how much I missed Jellicent because I wanted a water ghost.
oh, dude, Jellicent is so cool. Not the pink one though, only the blue one, and that's not sexist. It's just ugly. I'm sorry.
So the one thing I will say, if we come down here, that I noticed, the fairy weakness.
I think it's a little skewed though. Like if you scroll up to my team, um, I have a lot of things in the lower tiers that are weak to fairy that aren't necessarily going to come every time. And I think Iron Moth, Tinkaton are great fairy answers. So
Well,
it's not that I am really that weak to fairy, it's just that I have a lot of things with the type that's weak to fairy. You know, Kyurem doesn't like it, but it's also bulky, so
yeah, I
I
just
can't really
worry
think of anything.
a little because you've got Moth as a captain, so it might not be that fairy resist if you're not careful. I mean,
Oh, it doesn't need to be a resist. It just needs to hit that sledge wave.
yeah, that's true. I was gonna say you play around it pretty well if I had to guess, but it's
Yeah, that was the
really
other
only
reason why I
Tinkaton
liked
that's the
Sinistcha.
resist. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Terra Steel Sinistcha would be really nice. Or Terra Poison.
yeah, I could see both being effective. Because yeah,
Yeah,
the only
'cause
other
I guess
weakness is flying, and like we've already said,
Yeah, I'm not
that's
scared of that.
yeah,
I think the Terra Poison is quite interesting because Iron Moth is not a defensive poison type, like you said, so having
Yeah.
a secondary would be very helpful, and it's a great typing on Sinistcha, I think.
yeah. If we look down here, you've got removal covered. You're not going to be bringing that Mousehold to do much removal, if I had to guess, but you do have probably the best spinner in the format.
Yeah.
Good pivots. Slowking being notable here to go with that Kyurem.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
And then you got a very nice split on 3 physical, 3 special breakers. So I think it looks solid. But like I said, I am a Mousehold hater.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could find
Rightfully
something
so.
better there. Yeah.
I lost to you, I think, because when I had Mousehold, it hit twice.
Yeah, you missed the population bomb.
Yeah.
Or was it miss, or did it just not roll?
So the first time, I think it missed at 9, and then the second time, I hit 2.
Okay. Skill
And I
issue?
needed to hit.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a skill issue for them throwing their children accurately, I
Yeah.
guess.
I had that same skill issue in the Season 1 finals. Only hit
Yep.
twice.
Yeah, no, that was me being skilled.
Oh, it was different that time?
Yeah, my Rabombi was too fast for your shurikens.
Okay. Well, let's jump over to the next team here. This would be Jones. So, longtime coach by this point, probably played, what, 5 or 6 seasons with us now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Perennial contender, always makes playoffs. Based on the way their team looks, I think they're going to do it again here. They've got a lot of things I like. So,
If you literally put your hand over the bottom row, he's got a very scary looking team.
I think even some of the stuff on the bottom row looks pretty good.
No, I'm not discounting the bottom row, but I'm
Yeah.
saying if you were to just bring those 6, he's got
Oh,
a
yeah.
scary team.
No, I mean, he's got the physical answers in spades. You've got Slowbro, Quillfish, Wheezing, kind of Heatran and Landorus. And then on the special side of things, also the Quillfish, if you really need it to be. And then you've got Florges, who's amazing at eating special
Mhm.
attacks. And then on the
And you
offensive
got one of the
side,
most consistent, like like you were gonna say, you got the most consistent stuff in Dragapult and Landorus.
yeah. His
Landorus Heatran is like an all-timer combo right there.
Terra Captains, by the way, Landorus and Florges on this team.
Yeah,
So
you
good.
don't even need to Terra Landorus most of the time because of this combo you have. So like Florges having the ability to have more coverage is going to be really helpful, I think.
Yeah. And he's got that Landorus Terapagos combo I used to great success last season. I think even if he didn't have some of these good defensive pieces, that Terapagos, which it's a little deceiving here, that Terapagos is actually a much higher stat total than what it displays down here. It's actually base 600. That's going to be very
Put
nice to
that?
have around. I don't know if it would let me put it. It would.
The rest.
It's
The wrong
stellar, I
one.
thought.
No.
Ah, that is the 700, you're right. Yeah, there we go. That's the right one. Base 600. Doesn't have a picture, though. But yeah, that's going to be his main removal. It's all, no, Serena gets spin as well, so 2 removal options. But yeah, dealing with those 3, Dragapult, Terapagos, Landorus, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. Fightings might be somewhat of a problem because they typically get, like, dark coverage.
But you have Landorus,
But-
Slowbro, Weezing.
Yeah. But then you're forced to bring some of the worst stuff on the team.
I mean, I don't think Slowbro's that bad, and even Florges can eat a couple
Slowbro
fighting
is the
words.
only one. It's the only one I wasn't talking about.
But yeah, I think it looks solid. No big
No, it's
outstanding
definitely-
weaknesses there.
Mhm.
I really like his speed
Of the-
tiers.
I want you to look at the typing again. So there's something very common about every team:
Flying weak.
flying and fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone has something that's a flying fairy type, like I don't know, an Enamorous,
I think
It
one
might
of
be
those
doing
did get
very well.
drafted.
Hmm.
We'll see if that coach can use it, though.
he has no faith.
I like these speed tiers a lot, though. I don't know how consciously he planned them out, but it is very well structured.
Hold on 1 second, Zach. We're recording something.
Oh, okay.
All right. So who's next? Oh, was that the last thing you had to say for them?
Yeah, no, we can move on. We've still got, what, 5 more? Young Badge
Okay.
downwards? Okay. This would be, yeah, Young Badge. Returning after a season hiatus. Do you want to go first, or should I go first on this team?
I'll go first. We were joking that he's drafting his greatest hits, and I definitely don't disagree. He's got a lot of the things he's consistently used, like Primarina, Mamoswine. I'm sure he's had Corviknight before. Meowscarada he had last season, but he didn't get to use it because he dropped out.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, this is a team he built with the intention of actually participating with his old team. I think obviously he had to change it because things don't always
Fall
out the same way.
Yeah.
But I think it looks pretty decent. I think his top 6 are very powerful. Corviknight is a great wall, and he's got good ways. Like Mamoswine's great to deal with those electric and fire types. And the only thing I worry about a little bit is his Terra Captain being Electros. I think it could be something better. He's got 5 extra points that he can shift to a different mon, and he
Yeah.
also has 4 extra points he can do to upgrade another mon to something else. And I think that's the most points I've ever seen left over from a draft.
Since we moved to this tiering system, definitely. If we go back to being a bit of a Pokemon hater, I'm an Electros and a Dragalge hater. I don't like either of those. I feel like they don't do very much. They just kind of sit there is what it feels like. But definitely on the Terra Captain thing, we discussed this one in particular. I think it should be on the Azelf, probably. Infernape Azelf, if you're going to switch it to something else that you already have here.
Hmm.
You could maybe make an argument for Mamoswine, but Terra Captain Electros feels a little bit like a trap to me. It has no weaknesses already because of the typing and the ability, and it has pretty good coverage on both physical and special. It gets all kinds of weird stuff, like it gets like Fire Punch, Knockoff, Seed Bomb, Giga Drain, Liquidation. Gets Outrage if I'm not mistaken. So like he doesn't need Terra to be successful. There's other things on the team that would appreciate it more, I think.
Yeah, he had it as his Terra last season. I think I agree with what you're saying, that it should just be shifted to elsewhere. Like, you can have Azelf be Electros by giving it Terra Electric.
Mhm.
Then you have Levitate, no weakness, and it's better offensively.
Yeah. One of the things I remember from the season I used Azelf was I was missing the fact that it didn't have Ice Beam, and I would have to run Ice Punch if I wanted that. So even being able to go that for that extra coverage and be able to go like Psychic Thunderbolt Ice Beam for some matchups, I'm sure would be very nice.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing here is utilizing the rest of the points, though.
Yeah. Definitely. Something like the Palisand I think could be upgraded, or maybe even the P2 or Electros. There might even be things if you're willing to shift that you could jump up, like maybe Mammoth to Crocodile. I don't know.
Then I think he loses out on priority if he does that, but I see what you mean.
I think this is the first one I've seen that's checked off every type.
Definitely. I always struggle with rock and ice.
Yeah, I'm just a rock type hater. I never worry about that one. A lot of momentum on this one. I will say it says 2 removal. It's only 1. I don't think Cleavor is going to be running defog that much. You don't.
But it could, though. It
could, but that doesn't. I'm never like, oh boy, I get to run defog Cleavor this week.
It makes his axe more accurate.
I guess, but they could just switch out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good team, but definitely switching the Terra Captains would be needed, and spend those points if you can find something you're willing to trade for. Let's jump over to our next one. This is another one I had a pretty big hand in building, if you want to take the lead here.
Um,
Ooh, what did we miss? Indeedy.
I will say I'm excited to see Deoxys Speed drafted because I don't see the value in it. I think it's just really, obviously really fast, but not strong enough to really do anything. I don't see how two sets of spikes are going to help when it dies after and then gets spun away, you know? So, I mean, we'll see. I think it's interesting as a pairing with Indeedee to up those psychic attacks because nothing's going to outspeed this thing all season. I think Sneasler's really strong, and Enamorus was definitely on my radar, so I think he's got a very interesting top 3, and I want to see how the rest of his team complements it.
Yeah, I think the struggle for this team is going to be on the defensive side of things. You're relying on Dondozo and Makalola. They're bulky, but outside of rest on both of them, there's no real recovery, so you're going to be chipped down if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a situation very similar to my own, that you're going to have to set up quickly, find your turns, and win the game off of that setup.
Don't discount Rotom as a bulky mon, though.
No.
Pain Split's very annoying.
Yes. And I mean, you could do some Roost with Noivern, I suppose, but definitely not traditional bulky Pokemon. Yeah, I
look
think,
at his type checklist.
Yeah. A lot of holes. Big ice weakness, too. Terra Captains aren't decided yet for this team, so if you're picking what stands out for you here, his top 4 are all Terra banned.
Yeah, well, see, I think that's the problem. I don't think he has anything of value to Terra on this team. I think maybe Muck, and I guess maybe Indeedee, they could probably utilize it. I don't see the value of Noivern because unless you're going Terra normal Boom Burst every week, it's just not very powerful. Dondozo maybe as a defensive Terra Captain, but though that's about my only thoughts is the Muck Dondozo.
Yeah, Dozo Muck is what stood out to me as well. Of like they're probably the best things you have that can Terra.
Well, you know what? You could shed the grass typing on the Rotom for an electric with levitate and no weakness, but that's situational, I think.
Yeah.
I think you draft Mo for the grass coverage, and I mean, you don't lose it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think it could be better.
I think this team looks real solid on paper, but it's going to leave a lot up to the execution of the coach. Like, you're going to have to be able to play around Psychic Surge and DD to get a lot of value out of this team. And this is a style I haven't seen this coach play before, so it's going to be a question of how quickly he can learn that.
Sorry, Kyle, we're recording something. We didn't go to the other channel.
Do you want me to leave?
No, you can say.
Okay.
So let's jump over to fourth to last? This is our coach last season who used that Raging Bolt to great success. His first time back since Season 1 was last season. So an extended break there.
Really?
Went 11 seasons without playing.
I didn't know that was Season 1. But
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But this team was one that kind of got cobbled together similar to Delicatesteveo's team, in that there were a number of things the coach knew they wanted ahead of time, and I helped them pick some things surrounding it in order to try and put a team together. The big ones this coach was interested in, Garganackle, Tornadus, and Ditto, were the main ones. I think it turned out okay. The double dark top tiers I think is interesting. They're on opposite sides of the spectrum, but you definitely have a problem with fighting types. And the team in general doesn't have a ton of great answers to fighting types, because you also have Garg and Excadrill that are going to be fighting weak. And your resists being Fez, Torn, Houndstone, that's not great.
Yeah. I think Terra Ghost Garganical would be a great Terra captain for that specific reason.
That's true. He hasn't declared him. Definitely Garganical if you're going to Terra.
Yeah, I love Garganical, so
You
I'm a little biased at him last season.
Maybe you could argue Tornadus, but I think you'd probably go Hydrapple, honestly.
No, with his top two things being banned, I wouldn't say Tornadus would be a good Terra captain. I think there's better options. I agree with the double dark. I think that's a little odd. I don't think you need both of them. But I think they're both very powerful individually, and I think it could work.
Yeah. So his style as a coach, I would say he has shown he likes that immediate breaking power without having to set up too much.
Yeah, he's got the 98 average on attack, which is wild.
Yeah, he's got the ability to do things that way, but still with Dragon Dance Moon, there were a few weeks last season that he had good success with a Calm Mind Raging Bolt. I think Moon can fill that same role for him pretty well. Yeah, outside of those Terra Captain suggestions, I don't think there's anything too glaring about this team.
I also am a big fan of Ditto. I want to see how he uses it.
I tried a couple of times to talk him out of Ditto. I'm a Ditto hater. I feel like you risk falling too far behind in order to put Ditto into positions it's strong in. But we'll see. You're right. It'll depend on how he uses it. Next up, longtime coach, hollowkid. You want to start on this one?
I think he's got a really strong water, grass, fire, like offensive core, and two good defensive ones in Golden Go, Mandibuzz. I like Garchomp as well. I just think that Comfey doesn't really pair out that core very well. I like Comfey, but there's other better defensive fairies. Maybe it was too late in the draft to get them. I don't remember.
It was pretty late. We poked a little bit of fun at Young Badge for drafting his greatest hits. Comfey is definitely one of hollowkid's greatest hits.
Totally.
So
I like the Rillaboom Golden Go synergy though.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Golden Go, Terra captains here are Golden Go and Cresselia. What do you think about those?
Cresselia makes sense. I don't think Golden Go does. I think it's already got one of the best typings in the game. You shouldn't need to change it.
Yeah, I could see it being useful in very specific matchups, but in a broader sense, I think like Terra Grass, Grassy Glide, Rillaboom, you get some of that old power back. You're kind of living Gen 8's best days again with Grassy Glide spam. That might be the way to go.
Yeah, that would be great, actually.
So, this team did take your Cincino.
Yeah, that's fine. It wasn't like I had considered pulling it before Electrode, but I felt like Electrode was more important on my team. But I'm not too mad about losing it. It was kind of like a last resort mon anyway.
Yeah, I think the thing that jumps out here to me, I feel is going to dictate how this team performs, is that Greninja Volcarona. If either of those get running, I think they can clean up a game very easily once things have been broken down. And he does have good things to do that breaking. That Toxtricity, the Garchomp, the Rillaboom, I think can all do it pretty well. So, the defensive angle, I don't know how to feel about the defensive side of things. Like, Mandibuzz is great, But then you're relying on Celia Comfy as the other two. That can get a little iffy, I feel.
Yeah. This is definitely an offensive team, which is why I think having a Rillaboom Terra Captain would be better, because it's, one, more excuse to get it out and get the grassy terrain healing going, but also, two, that priority spam is going to be the best offensive option, I think, for a lot of matchups.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could still get a Terra into a defensive type and enable some Sword Stance sets that way too, I think. So definitely the captain I like a little better. A lot of pivot. My biggest knock on this team, I think something's wrong here actually, because Mandibuzz still gets defog, right?
I'll check right now.
If not, and it doesn't get defog, that's a problem, because you're relying on Cincino as your only removal then.
It does.
Okay, so something's off in the dock. He has two, Mandibuzz, Cincino. That's a little better.
They don't count Tidy Up.
Okay.
Tidy Up's not in the dock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be tricky though, because you really got to manage rocks well on a team of Volcarona if you want to see that thing succeed. So man, I feel like that Mandibuzz might be pigeonholed into taking defog most weeks, unfortunately. But I think that's a price I'd be okay with paying if you can get that Volcarona to work out.
And I think that's his intention, because looking at his top things, there's not really much to set hazards. Like, Garchomp doesn't always want to bring Stealth Rock, so I think he's
that's the only rock setter,
on
by the
getting
way.
rid of it.
That's it.
Yeah, but is there anything with, like, I mean, does Toxicity get Toxic Spikes? Or
Yes, it does.
And so does Greninja, so, like, he has other options. It's just the Stealth Rock.
Yeah, so I think he's proven he can use a variety of teams, and this has a lot of stuff he likes. I am excited about that Greninja Volcarona core, though. Alright, so second to last, we have a new coach. Will be their first season playing with us. And I know hollowkid helped them construct this team. I had a little bit of input on it as well. But I think off the bat, it doesn't look too bad. Has one of my favorite pairings of all time in Gliscor and Empoleon. I know there's coaches in the league that despise Gliscor, but it's really good at what it does. And I think the defensive core they've got here of Gliscor, Empoleon, Pecharunt looks very good. They cover for each other in a lot of aspects. And on the offensive side of things, I think the physical breaking is a little weaker than the special breaking power that this team has. But having a bundle around means you're always going to be pretty much covered in every matchup. That thing is almost unresisted.
Yeah, it's a monster.
This one, Terra Captains wise, if I'm remembering correctly, is Mew Empoleon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I feel about Mew in general on this team. The one thing that really jumps out is Ghost. Pretty big Ghost weakness, no normal type, and your Ghost resists would be two dark types in Skuntank and Hydreigon. But neither of those are like, oh boy, I get to switch in and eat a dark or a ghost type attack. They kind of want to be, in Skuntank's case, a revenge killer, and Hydreigon wants to sweep. So they prefer not to be taking the damage. I think in that Muse slot, it doesn't even have to be a ghost resist, but I would like to see something that's not another ghost weakness, probably. Terra could help, but I don't know. I'd rather see, if you're looking at the same tier, you can maybe even go with one of the Thunderuses. I don't know. Any other thoughts here?
I wasn't a fan of Ogerpon last season because it's stuck with the mask and it can't Terra. I don't think it's weak, but I think that there might be better 11-point options, even if you wanted to swap out Hearthflame for Cornerstone and have a Terra one. Like I said, Rock is not very utilized in this draft. A lot of things weak to Rock.
That could be a good switch, yeah.
And having Sturdy is always nice.
Well, until you Terra.
Yeah,
but
you take that first hit and then you Terra and then...
I suppose, yeah.
But that's just a thought. Otherwise, if you want another like fire grass type, there's plenty of other options of that split.
Scovillain.
No. But yeah, I just think it wasn't that impressive last season.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks because the team does have problems, and we haven't seen how this coach plays. So it'll be interesting to see how the team works out as the season progresses. Finally, we have Coach we owe a big thank you to. They stepped in last season when we needed someone to fill in. And when they did step in, they went on a crazy run. Do you remember how well he was doing last season?
I remember that he was very high win rate. I don't remember what it is exactly.
He beat the crap out of me when we played in the regular season.
But you know what? The most impressive part to me was that he took the team and made no changes to it, and then beat everyone's ass. That was what I thought was impressive.
That was pretty crazy, yeah. But speaking of that team last season, he brought back who I think was his MVP last season in that Quavel. He had a number of games where he was able to get up and running with that Moxie Quavel and Aquajet and sweep through people. It had 2 or 3 5-kill games, if I remember right. So he's not only brought it back, but now he's paired it with 2 of the other best priority sweepers in the format, in Cereledge and Dragonite. I don't think there's a lot of teams out there that have the defensive answers to be able to deal with all 3 of these in one game.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah. That's not even getting into the Darkrai. Like, that thing's just sitting there. If you somehow deal with all 3 of those, okay, now you get to go to the other side of the attacking spectrum on the special side, and you've got to deal with this. So I really like the top 4 he has.
Yeah. And then Jirachi's chilling too, like.
Yeah. This is definitely another one of the hyper offense teams though. Like, the defensive side of things, Blastoise, Overqwil, Jirachi, Cloyster, nothing exciting. They can probably work, but you'll have to really play around those opportunities to get your sweepers in and end the game quickly, I think, for this team to be at peak performance.
If I'm not mistaken, he doesn't have much momentum, am I right?
He has 5. The big thing here, no fairy type.
That's true, no fairy.
Terra captains are undeclared. If I'm this coach, seeing how he did last season, I'd probably make the Quavel a captain again. And then maybe the Overqwil.
Maybe, but I think he drafted Dugtrio with the plan, I think.
Yeah, if he's got a plan in mind and really wants to take advantage of that arena trap, Terra's going to make that thing quite the hassle to deal with. But I think if you're...
trap anything, and then just Terra to the type he wants.
To beat it, exactly. And then on the other side, if you need something to be a little more defensive, that Overqwil being able to get out of its only weakness in ground could be very useful too. So I think you definitely make Quavel. You can't do Dragonite, you can't do Darkrai. It's got to either be Quavel or Cereledge, and the coach has already shown an affinity for Quavel, so I think that's the way you go for sure.
I agree. I think it's a solid team. I'm excited to see him use it.
Yeah. Pretty good averages. There's our new highest attack, by the way, 102. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those 3 right
speed
there.
Side too.
Yeah. This is a good team. I like this one a lot. Removal's good. 2 spinners, Quack and Blastoise. Both of those are very usable, and Dragonite and Cereledge are going to appreciate them being around quite a bit. Only thing that we've seen on a number of teams is not a lot of knock users.
Yeah. I think obviously the big outlier of this team is that Sawsbuck, but I think he went so top heavy that it's not really going to matter.
Yeah, and it probably has its utility with Sap Sipper. So I think it'll be fine. It might come to a match.
I do like Sawsbuck. I used to run it in NU. But this is not NU.
No. No, you are not fighting Darkrai in NU. Okay, so now that we've reached the end, I've got a very tough question for you. Which team of these is your favorite?
Honestly, it might be Douglas.
Okay.
If it's not my own, because I like mine a lot, I think it's Douglas.
Priority core, or what about it specifically?
I think it's just, it's one of the only teams that is very top heavy, right? Like, it's the only other, one or low cost mon is the Lapras and the Ice Cube, right?
Yeah.
Unless you count Sceptile as a 4. And I think the mons that he picked that were powerful
are
very powerful and powerful together, and I think it's going to be really strong. I do think it is a handicap to have a low tier mon like that, but I think he's going to make it work.
Yeah. I was also leaning a little bit towards Douglas, but I'll go in a different direction here and say I'm a little bit split. I like Jones' team a lot. I tend to really like his teams. I've said his are the favorite a lot of times in the past.
His really good too, yeah.
But I think I'm going to go with Hunter. I like Hunter's team a lot. There's a number of good things that can set up and clean games. He's still got a couple of defensive pieces in that Tinglu, that Moltres, and that Vileplume. And with the sweepers he has, drafting that Glamora, I think, was a great call. He's going to be able to get those hazards up. And if he can keep them up with that Spectrier coming in on spins when he needs it to, there's not going to be a lot of people that are able to deal with his team in the late game.
Yeah, and I want to say an honorable mention as well to Rivero, because I like, I mean, obviously I had part in making it, but I think that I really like how his defensive options like work with his offensive ones, and I'm excited to see how he uses them.
Yeah.
I think it's really solid as well.
I can say from a team building perspective, I'm already having a number of head scratchers I have to come up with ways to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for watching this far. That'll be our team review for Season 13.
Thank you.